Your emotions make you human. Even the unpleasant ones have a purpose. Don't lock them away. If you ignore them, they just get louder and angrier. Sabah Tahir. Hello and welcome to Self-Talk. I'm Rachel Astarte. Today I'd like to talk with you about emotions. We all have them. They are what make us fully human. But how often do we feel we are at the mercy of our emotions? How many times have you let your emotions get the best of you, as the saying goes? Maybe you've been overcome with grief at the loss of something or someone you loved. Maybe you have a surge of rage that comes seemingly from nowhere, or at least is disproportionate to the incident that sparked your anger. Like a car cuts you off in traffic and you decide you hate all of humanity. Maybe that's just me. Take a moment. Think of a time when you felt an emotion so powerfully that it knocked you off your center, made you lose focus. It could be pleasant or unpleasant. Maybe you see an attractive person across the street and you tune out the story your friend is telling you over the phone. Doesn't have to be a negative feeling, but it could be. You're pissed at yourself for not going to the gym first thing in the morning, and somehow for the rest of the day, you're in a low-grade funk and feel down on yourself. It's pretty common. We all have feelings all day long. Some of them easily slip through us. A person compliments you on your smile and you feel good for a while, but by bedtime you've forgotten about it. But other feelings we cling to. Let's take that example of feeling bad about yourself for not accomplishing something that you wanted to do, but you didn't. Now, there's a purpose to that feeling. You feel badly because you set out to make a plan for yourself, ideally one that you thought would be beneficial, in this case, going to the gym first thing in the morning, and you let yourself down by not doing it. The down feeling could serve as a catalyst to do better next time. Your subconscious says, I don't like how that self-chastising feeling felt, so let's make sure we don't set the stage for that to happen again, okay? So tomorrow, set your alarm. So you see, it has a function. But what can happen is that we get stuck in the down emotion. We have one hiccup, not getting up for the gym, and we conflate that with every other time we've let ourselves down. Now we feel like there's no escape. The negative self-talk starts. I have no motivation. I have no willpower. And the self-flagellation starts. So-and-so goes to the gym every day. Why can't I manage to do it? What's wrong with me? You see how that goes. On and on until you feel unmotivated to do any self-improvement at all, because what's the point? You may even reach the pinnacle of self-destructive thought with the declaration, I'm lazy, or I'm a slob, or an overriding feeling that I'm different from everyone else, I don't fit in. Do you recognize any of those beliefs in yourself? Statements that you are such and such a way because of something you felt, a simple emotion. This is where we run into trouble. Instead of having an emotion, disappointment, for example, we identify with that emotion. We put it on like a suit of broken glass. This is me now. I am a disappointment. This works with other feelings too. See if you recognize any of these in yourself. I am an angry person. I am unlovable. I am impatient. I am selfish. I'm a pessimist. It's just who I am. I am lustful. I am judgmental. I am depressed. I am anxious. So what's wrong with that? The fundamental mistake here is that we are not our emotions. Emotions move through us. They serve a purpose to have us experience life so that we know what it's like to be fully human. This is the cool thing about being human. We get to experience the full range of emotions. What we have to learn to do is not judge them, understand them as experiences. This is part of what it means. This is part of the package of being a human being. But there is another purpose that emotions have, and it's far more functional than we may realize. To understand this purpose, first we have to recognize that we human beings are self-regulating systems. We are animals that are designed with a very powerful survival instinct. That means we are much stronger than we think. Just because we have a bad feeling, it doesn't make us bad. That sounds obvious, but if you recognized yourself in any of the previous examples, you can see it's much harder to live that simple axiom. But it gets better. Our survival instinct isn't just about not dying. It's about thriving in our lives. That's why we can take something like disappointment and reframe it as motivation not to repeat the action that caused the disappointment. But what about bigger issues? Emotional clusters that cause us to label ourselves negatively. A repeating emotional cluster of disappointment, shame, unworthiness, and depression can lead us to believe that we are unlovable or a pariah in society. Most of the problems I work with in my practice are the result of a long chain of unhelpful emotional clusters reinforced over time with repeated negative self-talk that people have assumed them as their identities. They have become their emotions. So how do we break that? We do that by looking at our emotions as alert systems, letting us know that something in our lives is off. I'm not talking about the emotions that pass through us, like a compliment or a temporary feeling of upset that we get over, not those kinds of things. I mean the feelings that plague us on a regular basis. When we get angry regularly, that's the light on the dashboard of our psyches telling us, hey, something's out of whack. Let's look under the hood. Specifically, let's look at what exactly is causing the anger. Not the specific incidents. That's not where we're going to find this information, but the common theme. So what is it that is upsetting you on a regular basis, even though you're seeing it out in the world in different scenarios? So what's coming up for you that's making you angry all the time? What's happening that's causing that anger? So this could point us to doing some shadow work. And there are a few episodes about shadow work in this podcast. If you're feeling like an outsider most of the time, what are the situations that trigger that belief? What emotions come up? Those are the warning signs that you need to self-regulate. Remember that creation is not in the business of making things that fail. You are not designed to be a mess. When you were born, you were a perfect spark of the universe. You had to learn how to be dysfunctional. It's not your fault. You did what you needed to do in order to survive, and we'll talk about that next time. But since you learned how to be dysfunctional, that's great. That means you can unlearn it. Think of overwhelming emotions as little beacons of light, guiding you back to the spark of the universe that you came here to be. When you begin to do that, even the most unpleasant of emotions can be seen as helpers along your path. That's a radical thought. Think of all of those unpleasant emotions that move through you, and rather than being at their mercy, what would happen if you began to think of them as guides? Oh, what's this trying to tell me? You let them guide you inward. Ask questions of them. Drop into your body and see where those emotions live, what they look like. Welcome them as guests. You can practice the self-alignment meditation in episode 22 to do that. Befriend those emotions, but don't become them. Use them as a guide to understanding what you need to get yourself balanced and farther along the path to becoming your highest self. That's where we need you most. Until next time, Many blessings on your path. Thank you for joining me on Self Talk. Aho.